Yes, everybody, we're back. All right, Jake. So this is Run the Jewels. A lady, you call him Dr. Jones. Installment number like 4 or 5. I don't know what we're at now. My name, as always, is Pat Julian. I'm broadcasting live from my apartment, and with me, as always, is my co-host Jake Haddon. Jake, show him some love.
What up? Too much rock for one hand. Woo. How we doing, everybody?
So, this installment of the pod, we're going to be talking about this recent trend in the film industry in Hollywood where it seems as if everything is, not everything, but film studios are now very inclined to start a long-term franchise plan of cinematic universes. So, they've seen the models of, I would say, Marvel and Star Wars, and they see how well those do. Because those are complex universes, they can expand them out, maybe do prequels, maybe do crossovers, sequels, things that are unrelated to the original storyline entirely. It's a whole new frontier, but it really isn't new. So, but it's new in terms of the material that they can run with. So, case in point, recently we heard that there are plans moving forward at Sony to be creating an entire Ghostbusters cinematic universe. Now, we know the Paul Feig, I don't know how we say his last name, but his project with an entire female cast of female Ghostbusters is coming out. I believe it's July of 2016. And we also heard about a few weeks back that Sony has decided to expand the universe out even further with plans to attach the Russo brothers as the directors of, I wouldn't say it's male-centric version of a Ghostbusters film, but it's male influenced, I guess, because just by juxtaposition against the female one that's happening, which is all female Ghostbusters. And that one is supposedly going to kind of take the reins on expanding out. Supposedly Channing Tatum is attached to that. And it seems to be that one they're looking to be kind of a bit action driven. Probably be an action comedy, I would assume. So I guess we're doing 21 Jump Street with ghosts. Who knows? We'll see. Oh, lower third. And so, first of all, Jake, do we think that Ghostbusters needs and or can support an entire cinematic universe?
You may disagree. I think that Ghostbusters doesn't even need a reboot, let alone a whole cinematic universe to sustain what, I mean, you think about it, a cinematic universe, the term, it really just means they're making sequels. They're making, you know what I mean? They're going to make more than one movie. It takes away from standalone movies, but that's we're going to get into that later. Do I think that Ghostbusters needs or can support one? I do think that it can support one, because with a franchise like Ghostbusters, there's always going to be more stories you can come out with. I don't think it needs one. I think it's an attempt to, bring younger generations to the magic that is Ghostbusters. But whether or not they need it, I'd say no. The Ghostbusters movies are great. I mean, Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters 2 are great. They did have their little cartoon also in the 90s, late 90s, early 2000s, which was also pretty cool.
Maybe even the late 80s, I'm not sure.
Might have been late 80s. They had a couple iterations of it, maybe.
I feel like it was very, for some reason, the animation is sticking out in my head as being pretty rudimentary, so
I think that there were two. I think that the one you're talking about was maybe with the original cast or some members of the original cast, and then there was a second one, maybe Ghostbusters Extreme or something else to get kids hooked on it.
Okay.
But I remember watching that cartoon and thinking, this is awesome, but the movie's better. And the movie's made with, 80s special effects. And like, granted, that was what we had at the time, so that's fine. Um, do you think that this is a good idea? I don't know if you want to get into this so soon into the pod, but do you think that this is a good idea for people to start doing? Um,
No. Yeah, my answer is no. And I think your answer is no as well, so we're in agreement on this. I'm not. I don't think the Ghostbusters film or even the background or maybe like character bios or whatever that makes up that film is complex enough to expand out and expect that other films can support um, that storyline, or we can see multiple iterations of it without being like, why do we keep rolling these out? It doesn't make sense. I don't think I'm with you. Did not even need to be rebooted. Never mind, decided that this was going to be like one of Sony's new anchor franchises going forward. Um, we could get into the Sony politics at another time, but this is I think, an interesting move for the new CEO and chairman of Sony, who has now been installed upon Amy Pascal's departure, who was the predecessor at Sony when the whole email hacks went down. I'm a little surprised that this is the move, that this guy is kind of like starting in and making his mark, and I wouldn't have gone this way. But I mean, I don't know. I'm into like there's a lot of good people attached to it. Like the Russo brothers are great. Drew Pearce, who wrote Iron Man 3, is supposed to be writing for the film as well. Not the Lady Ghostbusters, but the Channing Tatum version. But no, this doesn't need to be done. I mean, you are not going to get anywhere near close the Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd version. Yeah, I mean, there's a simplicity to, and kind of like it doesn't take itself seriously, approach to that film,
Absolutely.
and when you kind of have a movie like that, that's great as a standalone, like fantastic. It's not. I really just don't think it can support multiple films. I really don't know why we're gonna see. Is it gonna be like, I don't know, like Paranormal Activity-esque as well? Like I'm concerned, like is it gonna be like a Ghost Hunters, like a comedic Ghost Hunters type of thing? You know what I mean by Ghostbusters, like paranormal, like
Yeah.
that bullshit on the Sci-Fi Network that we get all the
Yeah.
time, where they actually just never find ghosts and it's the reality TV, whatever nonsense. I just don't know why we have to do this. It's like and it does. Go ahead.
Well, I think my problem with it is just calling it a cinematic universe in general. I don't understand why they have to do that. I mean, granted, it works for Marvel, but the Marvel Cinematic Universe was only created after a solid standalone Iron Man, a better Hulk, which I mean we both like, but in terms of like popularity, a solid follow-up to Iron Man. Like they're all solid movies that happen to follow the same chronology,
Mhm.
and you're basically just taking away the idea, like you're taking away from the individual movies themselves by saying like, oh, we're gonna make a universe. It's just saying, oh, we're gonna make a couple of these movies. It's like you look at other universes, which it just means continuity. Like I don't understand why they can't just say we're gonna make a couple Ghostbusters movies. Like you look at Indiana Jones, like we made 3, 4 of them that happen in the same, universe. Star Wars. You look at Lord of the Rings. You look at The Godfather. Any movie with a sequel, Terminator. They don't go around like, oh, this is the Terminator cinematic universe. This is the, whatever, like the Middle Earth cinematic universe. No, this is Middle Earth. This is the Terminator timeline. This is the reason that they called it the Marvel Cinematic Universe to begin with was because they've got multiple universes within their organization in the comic books and in other lore. So calling it a universe was just part of their thing. I don't understand why they need to call these things universes because it's going on the assumption that the first movie is going to do well, and that each of the movies inside of it are going to also do well and create something greater than the sum of its parts. Where, that's a big assumption, especially with Sony, who doesn't turn out the best universe-based movies. But that's just my piece. I just think it's silly.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm with you. Like, the only thing that makes me kind of like not totally just blast this idea is the people attached to it. Like I mentioned, the Russos and Pierce and Channing Tatum, for better or for worse. Chris Pratt is rumored to be involved too, or like he.
You're gonna be in everything now?
I guess. I mean, he's just gonna work.
Chris Pratt, Cumberbatch, is that his new name?
Yeah, maybe it might as well be. And then even Ivan Reitman is supposed to be involved. Ivan Reitman, the director of the original Ghostbusters, Ghostbusters 2, Animal House, Stripes. Like, obviously that's his. This is his baby, so having him involved is important. I think I heard going on the other side of the Lady Ghostbusters that Sigourney Weaver wanted to be involved in it as well with the lady version, but it bothers me. It bothers me that it bothers me that we have such talents available and like looking for projects, and we can't just come up with new material. Like, can we let's just come up with new material? Like, figure something else out. Put you guys together, write something original. We just don't have to rehash Ghostbusters. It's really for no reason, and if it's just for a quick buck, then that's deplorable, and we could be doing better. Like, I want the Russos to be doing. This was like when the Russos signed this like first look deal with Sony. This is like one of the first things they brought to Sony. Apparently, was like a Ghostbusters cinematic universe. Now, those guys are very intelligent. They know what they're doing. Very talented, directors. But why is this the first? Or not one of the first things, at least one of the first things we know about. But I don't want this. I want their energy spent on original content or new things that we haven't seen before that we can fall in love with, not go back, take something, a proven model, and just like recycle it.
True. I mean, granted, you look at, movie makers, storytellers, they grew up with that story and have always wanted to tell it. So I understand why they would. I understand why they want to make it, and I am all for them being attached to it. But why say it? Why not just say we're making a Ghostbusters movie, then make the Ghostbusters movie? It does well. You make another Ghostbusters movie. The universe creates itself by the sequels, instead of saying we're making a universe. Basically, just saying, oh, we're going to make Ghostbusters movies every year or two for the next 5 or 6 years. Like, God, boys, what are you thinking? But I definitely agree with you. I don't know if it's laziness or if it's just people feeling nostalgic and having money to kind of indulge their nostalgia in making movies that they've seen over again.
That's true.
But yeah, I definitely agree that I would like to see more original cinematic universes emerge than what we've been seeing in terms of rehashing old stuff.
Right, like what are we gonna go do next? Like Jaws cinematic universe, like.
Yep. I could see Jaws cinematic universe, the Godfather cinematic universe.
Oh, I will hurt somebody.
Special effect. I heard Michael Bay wants to do the Godfather.
That's not even. Well, that's so funny.
Let me just look at my my collection here. We could see a new. Well, I mean, people argue that the Disney movies all take place in the same universe, and like just because the Easter eggs they drop in all of them. I mean, I'm pretty sure they've come out and said like they don't. But
Pixar too. Pixar does that.
That's what I mean. Pixar primarily, not so much Disney. Well, Disney too. I mean, Disney owns Pixar. But you could see like a new James Bond cinematic universe. It's just called James Bond movies. Why cinematic universe? Sorry.
I think
Atlas Shrugged cinematic universe. Insurgent cinematic universe. What I am looking forward to would be the Wheel of Time cinematic universe would be tight. Wheel of Time is like a crazy fantasy books series. It's absolutely out of fucking control.
Mm.
That's all I'm going to go into that because I'm no expert on that. But
Yeah. Um,
that would be a sweet movie.
I just, I don't know. I get bummed out when I feel as if, oh, we're running out of ideas in Hollywood, which is, and you have a good, that's a good point that maybe just some of the best guys out there, they grew up like in the 70s and 80s watching all this iconic material, and they want to kind of be able to, because now they're in positions of power, now they want to be able to like retell some of these stories in the way that makes sense to them and is fun for them. But is that responsible? I don't really know.
Responsible is not the word.
Yeah, responsible is not the word. And for people who are, those people who work in the industry who, eat, sleep, and breathe material like this, I'm kind of disappointed that they should kind of know like what to touch and what not to touch. The Ghostbusters should. It's close. It's very close to being like a sacred cow in my eyes. Like, there's only a few sacred cows I can think of: The Godfather, Indiana Jones. Um,
It's out of our hands, Pat.
well, that's true. Obviously, nobody's asking us, but I'm just I'm not that into this trend of almost laziness of just kind of uncorking an old bottle of wine that we know we like and doing that instead of going out there and finding the next thing you're gonna and the audiences are gonna fall in love with. Um, I don't know. Will I even see this film? I'm not sure.
I'll see it. I probably won't go to the theater to see it, but
That's
I'll
true.
definitely see it eventually. But you just raised a point in my brain. I don't know how I made this connection, but like the place where they should be kind of redoing these things because they're coming out with crap every single season of every single year is TV. If you're gonna rehash stuff, make another Seinfeld. Let Jerry back on TV. Like,
Mhm.
make something. Because have you seen some of the shows that are coming out recently, dude?
Dude,
There's some
we could do a
bullshit.
whole thing on TV, but it's I listened to a specific podcast via Grantland, and they just go on a tangent. Like, they're good for like every single pod they put out. A whole tangent on this NBC show called The Slap.
Oh, I just want to talk. I just want to talk shit about that show for like an hour, if you'd let me.
Have you seen it?
No, but I saw the preview for it, and I just want to talk shit about it.
We can because I have not seen the show,
I will
but
actually watch it if you let me.
yeah, like you and I should watch the pilot and then come back on this and be like,
We
uh,
should watch it live. We should like what's it called? Like Mystery Science Theater it.
that's a good idea. This is bullshit. Why, why is what's his name? Zachary Quinto slapping that kid, or tell Spock to relax. I
Is
don't
it
know.
Zachary Quintos?
Zachary Quinto's in it. Peter Skarsgård is in it, I believe. Skarsgård. Uma Thurman is in it
What?
randomly.
Stop.
Yeah, yeah. Like, I don't know how they read the script and they got so many good people to be like, yeah, I'll be on the slap. Sounds like a very challenging role.
Honestly,
Um,
I love Ellen DeGeneres. I think she's one of the most talented people in Hollywood and influential, and she should be more popular than she is, which is impossible because she's a fucking man. But have you seen the show she's producing with the dude who impregnated his like best friend and then married some other woman, and now they all live together?
yeah, no, I know of it. I have not seen it,
All
but
I know, I know of it because I see previews for it in between my games of Scramble with Friends that I play with my uncle.
mhm.
Um, but it is smut.
Okay, that's what I was hoping you went there with that because
I don't know what she was thinking. I don't know how someone so talented was like, "This is a great idea. Here's my money."
yeah, the new well, no, that's the problem. It's not new. The sitcom like mentality of let's get five friends together and stick them in a house, or like let's get an unconventional couple to do something that's out of the ordinary or out of the norm, and like have hijinks ensue. Like, come on, like we've seen all these shows like 4 times a season. When NBC, Fox, ABC, and CBS were all 1 out each, and maybe one sticks, or maybe all 4 go away, but we've seen all these damn storylines over and over and over. Maybe it is smarter to take an established property with success and kind of expand it into a TV series. That's almost even more difficult, though, because we're talking about would Ghostbusters have the source material and the complexity to support multiple films, let's say 3 films. It'd be even more difficult to flesh it out and make a whole season of a show, or granted him even a series. So you need a big, a lot of opportunity within a certain, storyline universe to make that a success, which we kind of talked about a little bit in one of the previous pods with the blockbusterization of TV. But
I'm not so much concerned about Ghostbusters not having the material to support multiple movies, because Ghostbusters it's a monster. I mean, if it was a show, it's a Monster of the Week show. You've got to have great story underneath it, and the comedy. It's all about not taking itself seriously, which I'm interested to see the Russo brothers do. I'm interested to see if it's like a serious movie or if it's what the Ghostbusters is. But they're not going to run out of material, because you can always come up with new demons and new ghosts and new monsters and shit like that to have to deal with it. The only thing with that is, like with the show, I mean, if you wanted to look at a show like Buffy, like every week or every episode, or in this case movie for the Ghostbusters, it would be, you'd have to figure out a way to have the monster that they have to fight somehow connect with a real life issue that they have to simultaneously deal with. So like, if it's just something's just overwhelming, you've got some overwhelming problem, or if you've got to deal with your typical high school student, and their constant struggle to know if they exist or if they matter, and then a monster that does something like that, or
No, I'm with you though. You know who does that? Which you and I used to watch the show. They could do it in that sort of style that we saw in Fringe.
I was gonna say Fringe. Nice.
Yeah. Fringe.
JJ.
So Fringe does it through some producers, like Alex Kurtzman, I think, is one of the producers. Len Wiseman, I think, is another guy who kind of worked. I don't know if he worked on Fringe, but both of them now work on Sleepy Hollow, which is a
I like
TV show.
Sleepy Hollow. Do you like it?
Yeah. Oh, I beat the drum for Sleepy Hollow, and everybody's like, "Why do you watch Sleepy Hollow?" I'm like, "Because it's just entertaining and
It is
fun." I have a not so secret admiration for Nicole Bahari, who is the female lead. But that's whatever. And but they do that whole Monster of the Week type of format that you just talked about. So if Ghostbusters was to kind of like take on a Fringe / Buffy / Sleepy Hollow type of approach, maybe that's the best way for them to do it. Could be. If that were to be a TV series, but it looks as if we're going to be talking about
large-scale movies, right?
I don't know.
It would be like, it's all going to be about Zool, and like it's going to be like 3 movies like leading up to seeing him.
Is Zool that and that is, you're right, that's probably the biggest guy. But is he even that? Do you care about Zool's origin or what goes on with Zool?
No. I just want to hear them say, like, I want to see him interact with them for a movie, and I want to see them beat him. I wouldn't mind seeing another. I better not see another fucking Marshmallow Man.
Right. True.
It's
what's
amazing.
What's the Slimer?
Is it Grimer or Slimer? I think it is. Slimer.
22. Yeah.
Grimer's a Pokemon.
Okay. Yeah, you're right.
Slimer, because they had the Ecto Cooler, the
Yes.
High C.
Yes.
Slimer. Yeah. Was it
Okay.
Slimer?
Something.
Whatever. It was Slimer. We'll say it's Slimer. Somebody yell at us.
Somebody
Somebody
not
comment on this.
somebody not watching. Tell us what's going on with that. Yeah. Like, are we gonna see that guy? Like, do we need to see that guy?
No. No, we don't.
Is he gonna become like a part of the team and like the new? Who cares? Like, I don't. I
If
like
they're going
those.
to do it, I would like to see a new story. I would like to see a new Ghostbusters. I wouldn't like to see the old story with new effects. I would like to see a new, like, and you brought it, I don't know if you brought it up before we started or if it's on this pod, but 21 Jump Street, like, they're not bad movies.
Hmm.
They're entertaining. They're funny.
They're self-aware too,
They're
which is
self-aware, exactly. The second one, when they were saying how there's going to be 23 Jump Street, 24 Jump Street, 25 Jump Street, like that was funny. That was one of my favorite parts of the movie because it's like seriously, like Tropic Thunder, when it's like, who left the fridge open?
yes, yeah.
Like that's an example of a cinematic universe
Hmm.
going too far. So, but that's because they would reuse the same stuff, like Rambo. How many different things can he do? How many different people can Rocky fight
Hmm.
before it gets ridiculous? And then he makes Grudge Match, which is basically Rocky 7.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I think I had a point, but so I don't really know why. Oh, self-aware. That's what I was gonna say. I think it's gonna be very important for these movies to be self-aware and not try to act like something they're not. Like, I don't want to see a ton of like crazy serious action because uh, that's just not necessary. If anything, there should be an action comedy that knows it's just ridiculous and will come forward and say that through the dialogue or the situations or whatever. Um, it needs to be self-aware to be. I think the original too was kind of self-aware too. I mean, those three guys, those or four guys, the characters, they were just kind of like they kind of without saying it knew how ridiculous this was. Their entire existence of being like, ghost exterminators. I think they definitely understood that this was just um, you know um, malarkey. But
yeah.
so that needs to happen, I think, for these films to do well and capture the attention of and admiration of the fan base that's already coming out to see it because they like Ghostbusters so much.
Yeah.
And if they don't do that, then big problem.
Yeah.
I don't know. Ghostbusters cinematic universe, I could do without. It'll be interesting to watch what they do going forward. I'm nervous that this is a trend that's going to continue, where some of the other film studios look at the success of, say, Marvel or even the Bond series even though it's been around for a while.
Yeah, that's a huge one. I mean, but they don't refer to themselves as such. It's just a series of movies.
Right.
That's what it fucking should be. Pardon me. Jesus.
Right. Well, that's fine. So I just don't want this to become a thing where they just take, films that were. Like, I can't believe that Ivan Reitman, who is the director of the original, hasn't like put the kibosh in this. I would have thought that he would have. Instead, he's like on the front lines, like supporting it.
Well, that's good then. That's a sign of confidence in it.
Mm-hmm. Which is that is a good sign that maybe this can be built out and have it done correctly and not be sketchy at best from our seats. But maybe I'm sure he has a lot more ideas that he's going to put in place and influence. But man, I would have thought that this was not a property to use for this type of move. But
yeah, they're going to do this, and then they're going to do the Ben-Hur cinematic universe, and they're going to do the Lawrence of Arabia cinematic universe.
I love those two films. Like,
Yeah,
I
they're
hope.
great, dude. They should be
Yeah.
fucking remade.
No.
Shoot
Yeah.
me in the head. Shoot me in the fucking head.
um, I'm trying to think of like a candidate for a cinematic universe.
Sherlock Holmes.
Okay. Like the Robert Downey Jr.'s version, or
The character itself.
oh, okay.
The character itself. If you, I mean, it. Actually, I retract that because there's plenty of iterations of him, and the BBC series quells all Sherlock Holmes needs that I have. So we don't need another one. But that would be a character where there's people in Hollywood don't have to work too hard because there's already fucking source material for it, so they don't have to come up with any new ideas, and they could make a ton of money off of it because there's already such a strong following, generations of a following.
Yeah, it's a bummer because like I very much look for original content, original. I almost get bummed out when I hear something was a book first. Um,
Yeah.
Not that it's like it's a knock against the film because, you know, great writing is great writing, whether you find it in a screenplay or in a novel that already exists. It's not too big of a deal. But I almost am more impressed by somebody like Dan Gilroy, I started to mention to you off the pod, who wrote Nightcrawler.
Mm-hmm.
It's an original story, it's an original screenplay. And when things like the Oscars roll around, and I pay special attention to the original screenplay category because I think that takes um, a lot of talent and effort and inspiration. I don't want to take away from those who wrote adapted screenplays, but I think the original stuff is a little bit more impressive in my eyes, just because you had to sit down and become inspired enough to make a whole film like that, which is
Yeah.
where everybody started from too, like writing original short stories and things like that. So um, I don't know, like original screenplays are something I always like, and because it's like, oh, good, we're not like totally running out of ideas. People can still have an imagination, which is I don't know, disheartening when it seems to be the opposite. But um, yeah,
Mm. So your question of has everything been done already? Is it gotten to the point where there's nothing new? But year after year, we're proving that it's not the case.
mm,
And those original screenplays are, I think, brought more to light. Like they're respected more. They at least should be respected more for being a piece of original content. Maybe
yeah.
they won't make as much money, but they will get recognized.
I always think all the time too, like music, right? Like there's so many like songs that exist in the world, and there have been forever. Like breaking news, people. But
Bro, dude, blew my mind. Fuck.
yeah, but I'm always thinking like how incredibly impressive it is for musicians to make like new music, or skewed towards me like rap and hip hop, engineers to make new beats or something, like or anything, whatever it might be. Like I always think, God, like how hard is it to like totally not step on somebody else's toes and not use something that kind of sounded like something else and come up with something originally new in all your own. Like for some reason, I think that is like really, really hard in my
Yeah,
mind.
it's borderline impossible because there's only so many chord progressions you can go through. If you're talking about music, I mean, dude, there's everything has been done. It's doing it in your own way.
Hmm.
When you get into things like you're talking about, like sampling and you know, it it's almost impossible. I would say it's impossible to write an entirely unique piece of music in this day and age. I think it's probably been impossible for the last probably 60 years to do that. But there's going to be somebody who comes up with a new sound eventually, which will be sweet. Um, it's probably going to be something horrendously a uh, what's the term I'm thinking of? Dissonant, not like not very good in terms of what we're used to. Because
Right.
if you listen to a lot of like Eastern music, there's some very interesting things, like very technical artists and like genres that you would listen to and be like, ew. But I mean, it's all about culture versus uh, other cultures, nature versus
Sure.
nurture. I don't know what I was trying to say there. Um, it's just people doing different shit. I don't know. We're getting so far off of what we were talking about.
No, it's kind of related still though because I'm thinking um, musicians don't have the luxury of going back and like rehashing stuff that's already great. Like you can't go back and like redo Michael Jackson stuff because you just can't. That's not how it works. I kind of wish that
Yeah,
it
but
was
you can use his beats. You can use
you can sample
song.
his yeah
Video killed the radio star.
right, but you can't like go re-record Pretty Young Thing and
Oh, true,
and
true, true.
have it be something that people are gonna just. I mean, you can do covers obviously, and
Alien Ant
I'm
Farm. Alien Ant Farm did.
well, it's criminal.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
that's. I mean, I don't know if it's better than the original.
right.
I heard it first.
You heard Alien Ant Farm's version first? That's
Yeah, I
interesting.
did. I did.
Mm. Yeah.
I'm not ashamed to say it.
Well, we're only 24.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
Oh!
You care about that at all. So yeah, I don't know. Do we think there's a? I'm willing to say no. There is no. We are not going to get to a point where we just run out of material in movies, in film. I think you can always come up with something new. You can always like Star Wars, right? That was an original thought George Lucas had, and he just created that whole thing out of his own brain or whatever influences he took from John Carter or whatever the story goes. But it- that is still a thing. Like people can do that. So why aren't we just doing it? Just I know it's very, very difficult. It's easy for me to sit in my armchair here and just say, "Let's come on, let's do that." But, I just wish more, I don't know, more effort was being placed towards sitting in a room, coming up with original content, um, than just kind of remixing um, already established, successful, material. Um,
Well, I mean, I don't think that there's a. You want original content that's good. There's a lot of original content that gets made every year that's shit, but it's still original. And there's also some really cool stuff that comes out too. I mean, you look at a movie like Chappie. It's like a long Diane Wood video. Um, but that's new. That's cool. That's not like a. I mean, or you look at
I heard, I heard it was good, by the way.
yeah, same. Um, I think you have to make the distinction of saying a difference between original content and original content that's passable as good, because there will always be new movies. There will always be new ideas, but are they going to succeed is the question.
Right.
And it, I think you set them up to fail when you say, we're going to make a cinematic universe. We're going to make 6 of these fuckers and then eat it all up with a spoon, you mindless apes.
Yeah, that's what I also resent that too. That we're just gonna come like moths to a flame just because you're calling it Ghostbusters. I don't want to reward that by showing up at the theater unless it's there's a lot of really good things being said about it. Um, we know that the storyline is going to be great. It looks like a great film, but I don't want somebody just to think like, oh, they'll show up because it's Ghostbusters. Like they'll show up. Because I won't. I'm not going to unless I know it's going to be worth the time and energy. But I will see it eventually. But
Yeah, I'll see it when I'm hungover on a Sunday.
yeah, sure. But they should be aspiring for more than us just saying, just going, yeah, I guess I'll watch that, like off of Netflix or something. They should be aspiring to, and they do aspire to more than that. And I think it's disingenuous to think that, most people are going to not see through the money grab that this move kind of feels like.
Yeah, and one of the things that we deal with in the beverage industry at Buy is the changing of the guard in terms of your consumer. So, you start with the Coke consumer who was just straight hedonism. Just I want a Coke. I'm gonna drink a Coke, and I don't care what's in it. And then there was the new age, like the vitamin water. Like we're gonna put vitamin on the label, and it's gonna seem healthy, and it doesn't still really matter what we put in it because people are gonna think it's healthy, and they're gonna think they're being healthier than Coke. And now it's kind of the smart age, where it's people want to be healthy, and they're actually going to read the back of the label as opposed to the front of the label. So I think the same thing is happening everywhere. I don't think it's strictly on consumable products. I think it's, media, and media. People will eat that shit up with a spoon no matter what's going on. But in terms of like movies and TV, I think people are, maybe this is not true. I could be wrong, but I think they're getting stronger kind of individual outlooks on things as opposed to just being like, oh, this is what everyone likes, like, let's go see it. Like, if it's shit, people are going to call it out for being shit, especially with the anonymous age of the internet and trolling and being able to voice your opinion with relative anonymity. People are going to be able to voice their opinion and call people out for shit.
Right.
Like, if it's garbage, I'm going to tell you it's garbage. And I'm not just going to give you my money, and I'm not going to go see the sequel because the first one was trash.
True. No, it's a good point. I think that's important because in this age, and like you hit on it too, it's the internet. The internet is giving everybody a voice. You can't hide either. There's no hiding anymore. You can't hide the fact that Coca-Cola is horrible for you, because someone's going to figure out and sound off on the internet, and it's going to be shared via your aunt's Facebook page and your great uncle who you didn't even know you had. It gets recycled, and everything gets blown up. And it's the same sort of principle applies for everything, where if something sucks, it's going to be called out for sucking. And that's a great thing about the internet. We kind of get to reject bad ideas or lazy material or movies that just didn't movies that just didn't live up to the hype or fell underneath the bar that we set for them. And everybody has an opinion too. Like, look what we're doing right now. We have opinions that nobody gives a fuck about.
Yeah, no, it's unfortunate, but
but we, because of the internet, we're given this platform to talk about things and blast it out there, and see if it gets response or not. Who cares? We do this for fun, but I think that's important, and the internet as an entity pushes talent to the top, pushes good ideas to the top, I believe. So, just because everything is transparent now with the use of the internet, there won't be a sequel if it sucks, because it'll be talked about 7,000 different ways on the internet, on Twitter, on whatever, and you won't be rewarded for it.
Yeah, and I mean, that's a point I didn't even think of until just now. They can even say it's going to be a cinematic universe, but if the first movie bombs, it's not going to be a cinematic universe. Because look at the girl with the dragon tattoo. I mean, the Swedish movies are fucking amazing. I love those three are some of my favorite movies. But then you look at the Daniel Craig version, and I still thought it was good. Didn't perform as well, and there was no girl who played with fire or girl who kicked the hornet's nest. Like, they're just like, yeah, no, sorry. Sorry, everyone who watched this first one. We're not getting two more because this didn't make enough money for us.
Right.
But
that's true. Money is the big equalizer. So they can say this cinematic universe thing all they want, but might not get it if the first movie doesn't do well financially.
Yeah.
If it doesn't do well in terms of people being that happy with it, that's not as much of an indicator of whether they move forward as the finances of the film or what they gross.
True.
But I was just thinking about this. Could this be a sneaky, like, Jedi mind trick that the studios are now playing on the people who pay close attention, or just the mainstream general public? When they start calling something a cinematic universe, it's like they're they're forcing people's hand. Like it's like a weird like psychological trick where because we're calling it a cinematic universe, it's going to succeed. So because it's going to succeed, you're going to come to watch us succeed, and
Mm.
you're going to have to
Yeah.
come, therefore, more and more to the next few films. Like it's like they're uh, already declaring it a success before we've even seen one frame of the film, and that way they just kind of already have us.
Yeah.
Think that could be a thing? I don't know. I just thought of
Absolutely.
it now.
Absolutely. How many people do you think would have gone and seen Thor if it had come out before Iron Man?
True. No, probably not me. Yeah.
The Green Hornet, I went to see because I think my dad used to like the Green Hornet, but I thought it was trash. But if they told me they were making 6 Green Hornet movies, I'd have been like, fuck you.
No. Yeah.
Actually, it wasn't trash. It just wasn't what I was expecting. It was
Right.
actually, I thought it was decent, but I was expecting something completely different because I'd gotten to see Iron Man 2, and then Thor at that point, and then the Green Hornet was just different, which was fine. I just didn't expect it. But if they, yeah, like you said, if they tried to Jedi mind trick me into it, it I don't know. I think there would have been a lot. It just puts a bullseye in your back. I don't know why they would do that. I don't know. I think you let the universe build itself. You
Yeah.
don't build the universe and then say, "We built the universe. Here it comes."
That's exactly what I was trying to think of. You just hit it. I was trying to think of the analogy to better explain what the hell I was talking about, but it's like Field of Dreams principle almost. Like, right?
Yes.
If you build it, they will come. If you call it the cinematic universe, they will come because that's what they expect. They expect it to be good. They expect it to succeed. They expect it to be impressive. So if we call it this, they're going to show up no matter what it does.
Yeah, and they're going to show up for 2 reasons. They're going to show up to see it. Half people are going to show up to see it, and then they also expect. Well, here's the thing too, because they kind of in doing that they are opening up for people to see it multiple times, because you're going to say, or the Uber nerd is going to see it, and then he's going to go see it again and be like, oh, look at all these Easter eggs I found. Like in the next movie, this is going to pay off for this, and this is going to pay off for this, and this is what this meant. And oh, did you catch that? And I can just see the movie pilot things. Can you believe you missed this? How did we miss it? Fuck you, movie pilot. Um, yeah, but that's a great point. I didn't even think of that.
And your point is good as well. It's that because it's a cinematic universe, quote unquote, there's going to be people who it's their job to watch films, it's their job to be critics, it's their job to write for Coming Soon to Nerdist, film, movie pilot, total film, whatever it might be. They'll go back and rewatch it because they know there is some relevance into upcoming films that they need to get the scoop on before anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
So another bit of Jedi mind fuckery that could be afoot by calling something the cinematic universe. I think it's the Field of Dreams thing is probably the best way I can attribute this Jedi mind trick. That I think they might be aware of what they're doing, or they might not be. But I think that could be a real psychological principle within this bit of film marketing
Yeah.
by proclaiming it cinematic universe.
Thanks,
But,
Marvel.
yeah, they had to go and be so awesome. Sucks.
Yeah. Dicks.
Could be fucking over the rest of the industry. Um, I don't know. All right, you got any closing thoughts about Ghostbusters? Just as it could be the Lady Ghostbusters, it could be the Russo, Channing Tatum, Chris Pratt, maybe Ghostbusters. Before we depart.
I think the Lady Ghostbusters. I mean, I, I would actually. I would see that because I think Kristen Wiig is tops. I think she's great and she's hysterical, and it would be funny because that's not a movie that would take itself seriously. It couldn't exist on its own feet if it did, because she's a comedian. She's a comedic actor. She's great, but I'm just nervous as to what. I don't think they would make either of those movies be like serious,
Okay. Yeah,
serious,
I don't think
serious.
so either.
So I'm not concerned about it. I'm just offended that they come at us with this Jedi mind fuckery. I like that term. I'm going to use that a lot. I don't think they need to remake the Ghostbusters. I don't. love that idea. And I do like the fact that the Russo brothers are doing it, though,
Yeah.
especially after listening to that podcast with them, because it just sounds like they are. Winter Soldier didn't happen by accident, and put it that way. So
Right.
that's my
Yeah.
closing argument. Yay, Russo brothers. Boo, Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
But yay, Russo brothers. And yay, Kristen Wiig.
Yeah.
Yay, movies. Standalone movies.
Yeah. I'm with you. Yeah.
Actually,
Go.
sorry. I have one more closing argument. One of my favorite movies growing up might surprise you. It's a little film starring a one Matthew McConaughey and another Christian Bale. It's called Reign of Fire.
Mm-hmm.
And let me tell you why I love this movie. That movie told a story. It told a self-contained story that left no room for a sequel. The story started, the story happened, the story ended. And it ended with not a happily ever after, but it ended with this is how we're going to live out our lives, and it was perfect. It was a perfectly self-contained film, and that's what we're missing a lot of in these other movies. I mean, that's my final
Yeah.
piece.
No, I'm with you. I like standalone films because they can exist in a vacuum by themselves, start and end, and have that be the thing. It's almost like nowadays. I don't know if writers are doing this because they feel pressure from the studios, but it's like, and I don't think they're consciously doing this, but almost writing the material so that you kind of leave the door open a little bit for something else. Um, I hope that's not the case. I don't think it really is because you can always just come up with something that involve the characters or whatnot. But no, I'm with you. The standalones are almost more impressive to me than franchises, but because it takes a lot of even anybody can just it's like writing a run-on sentence, right? Anybody can do that, and but it's much more hard to write like an eloquent, you know, intelligent sentence where you use semicolons and dashes or whatever to make one complete beautiful sentence. Um, and nowadays we're just like comma and then comma and then comma and then. So I'm not into that as much. But I guess my final thoughts will be yay to everybody who's involved. I guess with these films, it's crazy, like all up and down. I haven't heard of one bad name yet. But boo to the fact that we're wasting all their talents on material that we've already covered and shouldn't even be retapped. So the Lady Ghostbusters is going to be impressive. I was actually not too outraged when I heard about that because I think it's an interesting premise to have all women Ghostbusters, especially the cast they have. They have like Kristen Wiig, Melissa McCarthy, Kate McKinnon, and Leslie Jones. All those women are very good and talented comedically. So that'll be interesting to watch. The Russos are attached. Ivan Reitman is attached to the other film, so I'm naturally curious, but I'm just kind of bummed out that we're not using them for something original.
Hmm.
So hopefully we're not doing the cinematic trend too much more and more. I'm trying to think of other studios that I've heard that have plans in this same vein. The only thing I can think of is the Universal rumored plans of expounding on their monster films. Because I do remember, I don't know if we've talked about this, but I watched an interview with the chairman CEO of Universal, and there was something centered around the conversation of superheroes, and the Universal spokeswoman, the chairman, she said, well, at Universal we don't have superheroes, we have monsters. So you recently saw the Dracula Untold film, and I think there might be other efforts towards like drumming up more monster films and have those be the tent poles of what Universal is doing I don't know if they're all going to be interconnected in a shared storyline or whatever, and be a cinematic universe, but
It was a monster mash.
perfect. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't want to see this trend continue. I think we can just think a little bit harder and come up with brand new kick-ass stories and characters that we didn't know existed until some dude pulled it out of his brain, but or girl, of course. But I don't know. But Ghostbusters, I think it's a little bit of a try hard, but we'll see what happens when the films come out in about a year or so going forward. But anyway, this has been Hey Lady, You Call Him Dr. Jones, a Run the Jewels podcast production. And we'll be back real soon. We're closing in on Game of Thrones coming back, so we might have one of those in store for you, where we preview the 5th season. And then, anything that happens in the film industry, we'll be here to comment on as well. Because I know you're sitting there at the edge of your seats. But another rule of the drinking game, which we're just going to be writing rules as we go, is anytime you or I just shit on the fact that we have no viewers, you take a shot. But anyway, Jake and I are going to sign off. For Jake Haddon, my name, as always, is Pat Julian. This has been Hey Lady, Call Him Dr. Jones, a Run the Jewels podcast. And we'll see you again sooner than you'd hope. Drink.
Deuces.